everybody. This is the Planet Earth here. How you guys doing today? So I wanted to talk about eSIMs. Okay, so here is what the problem is with the eSIMs. Okay, so Visible just updated their app. Visible Wireless just updated their app, and you can now swap SIMs, eSIMs with ease. Now, all you got to do is wait for a PIN code to be sent, and you can literally put any IMEI number now. So Verizon, or at least Visible, now has it to where you can swap SIMs as much as you want without any issues, which is amazing. However, with AT&T, they still require you to. What's up, Joe? They still require you to go into the store. This is the reason why I despise AT&T Wireless. They want you to go into the store, grab your phone, get open the camera app, and which I already knew how to do years before. But if you have postpaid or prepaid, they have to send you a QR code, or you have to go into a store for them to scan your stupid QR code to activate eSIM service on any iPhone or even some Androids, which is fudging annoying. With Verizon, I don't know how that works because I don't have Verizon. But with Visible, at least now you can swap eSIMs to any iPhone that's unlocked. Or I think it even works with Android devices, but I haven't tried it yet. That has eSIM like the S22 Ultra, S21 Ultra, S20 Ultra, S21 Ultra. But the point I'm making is this is bullshit, and it's bullshit. AT&T needs to get with the picture with their postpaid and prepaid eSIM technologies. Since Apple wants to push the eSIM only, then other carriers need to get up on that ball and make it to where you can easily swap SIMs, but in a very secured manner. Maybe with like a 10-digit code. Not sent to an actual cell phone because people can hack that. But like a code where, like when you sign up for the prepaid account, they give you like a 10-digit code and you could swap SIMs as much as you want with that 10-digit code in an app. Like, say you download it on the Google Play app, Play Store, you have that 10-digit code or some sort of code or passphrase that only you would know and could not be hacked easily, so they don't steal your phone number through eSIM stealing. I guess this might be a thing that Visible is going to have to actually watch out for. Some people might steal Visible accounts if they can get access to their email. But the point I'm making is, other than that, there needs to be a more secured way of accessing these eSIMs, but also making it very easy to access the eSIMs at the same time, unless there's some sort of massive breach or something. T-Mobile is extremely easy to activate eSIM. All you do is tell them the EIN or whatever the heck they called it. You tell them the IMEI, or not the IMEI, the eSIM or whatever. Maybe in the future, T-Mobile's app will make it to where you can swap out phones as much as you want through eSIM and activate, deactivate, activate, deactivate over and over. Obviously, it won't work with a stolen phone. Um, but I don't know why Apple took this route. I think that was very stupid of them. I think they should have waited another year at least until all the carriers were 1,000% to where automated eSIM switching could happen without going to a store. What if there's somebody out there that lives like in the middle of nowhere, America, and they have to drive like 100 miles plus? Let's say USPS, UPS, FedEx, or DHL delivers their new iPhone 14 Pro or Pro Max or 14, and they need to activate, but for some reason their QR code didn't work. So either wait for another QR code or go to an AT&T store 70 miles away just to activate on the network. And if there's no local AT&T stores nearby that are non-corporate, this could be a problem. This needs to be fixed immediately. It needs to be done. You need to be able to activate eSIMs through apps like Visible Wireless, where you could just click activate, and then it'll say, "Oh, hang on, we're not done setting it up." And then you set up the eSIM, and then suddenly you're activated within like a couple of minutes. It'll say activating, and then it'll say connecting, and then it'll say connected, and then it'll install the eSIM file. Since this is the route that these companies want is forcing us to go through, then what needs to happen is these eSIM providers need to be on the ball. All MVNO providers, all eSIM providers, Apple needs to be able to easily activate services. All of the apps, including the Verizon prepaid and postpaid, AT&T prepaid and postpaid, post AT&T man, portal activated. I can't do that, Carlos. I couldn't do that. I have to physically go to the store to get activated. They have to scan the QR code. That's the only way. They scan this piece of paper, or not like a credit card. Uh, it's kind of hard to explain. Not like a credit card, but a QR code, and then they have to scan it on their tablet, and then you scan it through the camera app on your phone, which I already knew how to do, and then it activates, and then you're fine. But the point is, I can't just switch my number from phone to phone on AT&T yet. But AT&T, Verizon for both. I'm talking about both postpaid and prepaid. Visible has already done this. You enter the IMEI Visible in the app. In the app itself, you can literally switch any phone you want now. It's in the app itself on iPhones. So now you can swap SIMs on Visible anytime you want. eSIMs. I've tried it like 6 times. In one day, I was swapping 14. I had returned to 14. And then I went back to the Pro Max. I was like, no. And then back to the 14, activated perfectly within like 2 minutes. The SIM was on that phone. I didn't have to contact customer service. That's working now. T-Mobile prepaid, T-Mobile postpaid, AT&T prepaid, AT&T postpaid. But there also needs to be a very secured method of making it very easy to swap SIMs, but at the same time, making it secure. So maybe like a 10-digit code, not sent through a text message, a 10-digit code that you can access at a store. After verifying ID, you're the person multiple times before you go, and you can swap SIMs so nobody steals your phone number and then has access to all of your stuff. That needs to happen. So make it secure, but make it easy for people to switch. Oh, you're in a different country? Bam, switch. Here you go. eSIM, QR code. Pay me $20. You get a month's service. You get 10 gigabytes. Whatever. Oh, you're in a different country? QR code. Boom, it's done. I mean, we're already going into a technocratic future as it is. So we're already hitting to technocratic state. So we're already in a technocratic state at this point. At this point, I am convinced 100% since the iPhone 14s came out. We are in a technocratic state, meaning they will monitor us through QR codes. Yes, that is a fact. But if you notice, the QR codes are spreading everywhere. Okay? Point I'm making is make it easier for people to switch carriers. If I want to go to Less Mobile or if I want to go to that red stuff with Verizon's prepaid service, they need to make it to where you can install the apps, put in your IMEI, and just activate. On AT&T, you can transfer the phone, but you can't erase your old phone yet. You sign into iCloud on a new phone, you click Add eSIM, a new number, and you click on your number. That does not work for prepaid service yet, Carlos. I tried that. For postpaid, I'm sure it works just fine. But the point is, when I put the iPhone next to the other iPhone, it says that no phone numbers can be transferred. Even with iCloud and everything turned on, it doesn't allow it on prepaid, only allows it on postpaid. You can't just transfer by clicking the transfer button from another iPhone with the code. It doesn't work that way. And I don't think that's very safe either way, because I mean, what if somebody steals your phone and has access to it? They can just pop their phone number on your phone real quick. I mean, you could obviously call and have it deactivated now. That is cool. But yeah, no, that's not. I don't know if that's a good thing or if that's a bad thing. How easily you could start the SIM transfer process. I don't know if that's a. I don't know. I think there just needs to be more security features in that, but make it easy still, like where it's not time consuming. But I like the fact that I have 4 different SIM cards on my iPhone. One from Aerolo or whatever the hell, it's like a third party eSIM provider. One is from T-Mobile. It's just like 3 months of free service for no reason. T-Mobile is offering 3 months of free service. to try it out, but yet I have no coverage as usual because I'm in the boonies. Um, Verizon, Visible, all these carriers are offering the free service, so why not? But the point I'm making is they need to make it for prepaid and postpaid easy to swap SIMs, eSIM, since this is going to be the thing for the United States now. What I like about Visible, it's $45 a month, including taxes. I mean, I know it's not the highest priority, but damn, you get access to millimeter wave, and you get decent. You get access to the midband spectrum, and there's no 200 megabit cap. So why in the hell not? It's $45 a month. Yeah, you may not get roaming or international roaming, but at least you get access to a faster network, and it's not as congested all the time if you live in a more remote area. So why the hell not for $45? And you get unlimited tethering. I understand that it's not like these premium plans that you can buy online. You can buy premium plans online, but you have full control of the account. See, that's the problem is I don't I don't like it when people don't have full control of the account. That's why I always prefer the Visible over these other shared family plans. I just don't trust that. I don't trust that because I don't know them. So they could turn off the service at any time, and you wouldn't know when they're going to do it. Or maybe they didn't pay their money. Maybe they didn't pay their money, and then your account suddenly or your phone gets shut off, and you don't even know why. So it would be just better that I just stay with Visible. Now that they offer this $45 plan, that's cheap as shit. Um, you get millimeter wave access, you get mid-band spectrum access, you get low pings. You don't have to go through their servers anymore. So it's not high ping. I mean, I've seen as low as 18 milliseconds on 5G and as low as like 11 milliseconds on their millimeter wave on certain towers around here. So that's pretty good. That's good enough for me. I mean, it's fast. Also, 1080p streaming works fine on Visible on congested towers. I've literally done YouTube. 1080p works just fine. I downloaded apps like Genshin Impact, which is over 10 gigabytes total, or 15 gigabytes now. Call of Duty, downloaded at like 10 megabytes per second on non-millimeter wave, which is the mid-band spectrum. I've seen fast speeds like that, and it never slows down. I've used 6 terabytes on Visible Wireless, including millimeter wave. That was mostly millimeter wave doing that, but it works just fine. Works just fine. I don't see the reason to get $100 postpaid plan when I can get a $45 prepaid plan, and I've had the service for years. It always works. It may not be the most perfect. You don't have customer service. You don't have VIP priority on the network, but I mean, if you're in an area where there's no congestion and not going to be no future congestion, then what do you need postpaid for? I understand that with postpaid you get the excellent customer service, you get perks, you get higher priority on a tower, but I'm not in New York City. I'm not in Los Angeles. I'm not in these extremely highly congested areas. If I was like what's his name, Carlos, living in the LV area, I could understand needing that high priority because there's so many people, but yet so few towers. But in Texas, there's so much spread out of towers. There's not that many households connected to these towers sometimes, especially when you go out in the middle of nowhere. So I see 2, 3, 400 megabits per second even during the daytime on these towers because no one's going to live there. There's nobody out there. No one's moving there. No one's going to be buying property in private land that's farmland. They're just not going to do it. It's going to be years before that would happen anyway. So Verizon is doing a really good job putting their mid-band spectrum in the middle of nowhere. And they're getting better with this over the last year, especially. I've been seeing 500 megabits in the middle of nowhere. No, literally. In the middle of nowhere, Texas. There's no towns around. In the middle of nowhere, in country farmland, middle of nowhere. I looked on the maps to find out in a 10-mile radius if there was any houses, if there was no, it was just for coverage. Nowhere, middle of nowhere, Texas. I got 605 megabits down and 86 megabits upload. 600 megabits down and over almost 100 megabit upload speed on Verizon. With AT&T with their mid-band spectrum, I'm getting over 400 megabits down in the middle of nowhere, Texas, and over 100 megabit upload speed in the middle of no. We're talking no properties or very limited properties. We're talking the middle of the boonies. We're not talking. We're talking between the towns of that middle of nowhere coverage where you wouldn't expect them to have it. For some reason, AT&T puts the 5G, and Verizon is now putting the 5G in areas where it used to be LTE only towers or 3G towers. So now I guess they're forced to do this now, kind of, because of the new phone, all the new and the satellite feed, whatever. I don't know if it's because of the iPhone specifically, but the S22 Ultra has that Qualcomm X65. The iPhone 14s has the Qualcomm X65M. Um, the Verizon LTE speeds suck. They've been sucking for years. The only thing that is their savior is Band 13 is amazing. It's not the fastest, but it has that last mile coverage. Beats T-Mobile, beats AT&T, and T, and that last mile coverage. But unfortunately, Verizon does not have good coverage in Texas. Once you go outside the major cities, there's a lot of gaps. AT&T seems to cover those gaps, where Verizon just will not. They just don't want to pay the infrastructure. AT&T is not the fastest provider, but man, they have that last mile coverage. Like I don't know what is it with AT&T, man, but in a lot of places AT&T can suck. But in the South, like Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, Arkansas, Oklahoma, especially Oklahoma, New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, and Utah. And I don't know about Kansas too much, but AT&T just has that solid coverage of spectrum. They may not be the fastest. They may not have millimeter wave everywhere in the states. Verizon's starting to spread that millimeter wave out pretty nicely. Houston, for example, I've gotten better speeds with Verizon than with AT&T in Houston, Texas. However, once I get outside of Houston, AT&T is king everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. Okay, there is even coverage of 4 bars of 5G out a mile out in the water in a boat. I'm getting 70 megabits per second on a boat a mile away from the land. I'm getting 70 megabits per second. There's a tower near the water. I think it was Port Aransas. Look it up on the Google Maps. It's Port Aransas, Texas. A mile out, actual 5,000 feet. I was getting over 70 to 80 megabits per second on a boat. And then when it was going up and down, you could see the speeds kind of fluctuating, but it was still connected at over 30 megabit upload speeds. So you could be a mile out, anchored in the middle of the ocean, even though it's a mile. Yeah, you can still see the shore, and have 70 to 100 megabits down a mile out of the shore. But Verizon had no cell phone coverage. But AT&T had 4 out of 5 bars. I don't get it. There's like 2 towers right next to each other, within like 3,000 feet of each other, and I could not get a good signal with Verizon. But AT&T still had coverage a mile out. And not only does AT&T have coverage in the middle of nowhere, they have good. If you have postpaid, they have a great connections with this. I think this. I think they're ComNet. I think they're called COMM or ComNet. I think T-Mobile also has contracts with them. So if you're like at Big Bend National Park, or if you are in the national park areas of the country, I think these are federal provider of cell phone service. They have good cell phone coverage on 2G or 2G speeds of coverage. So when you're in Big Bend National Park, you still have cell phone coverage. AT&T is amazing. Verizon roams on a lot of networks. They do a lot of roaming in a lot of areas. I wish Verizon had native coverage, but unfortunately, because of the laws, some CDMA type providers, like I don't know if they're called CDMA anymore, CDMA providers like Verizon have to not have coverage in areas like West Central Texas, which is called West Central Wireless. They use the same similar bands as Verizon, so Verizon cannot go out there because West Central Wireless has that area. But AT&T is king where West Central Wireless is. However, AT&T and Verizon both suck in that area. So, anyways, that's just my rant. It's an eSIM thing. Hopefully, in the next few months, AT&T prepaid, postpaid, T-Mobile prepaid, postpaid will make it easier to swap SIMs around. But I doubt it. AT&T is very, very bad about letting you have that eSIM access, I guess, maybe for hacking purposes. Hopefully, in the future, this will be a lot easier. I think within a I think within a year, this will be a lot easier for all of us because then the iPhone 15s are going to come out. They're probably going to be extremely super fast. The S23 Ultra, S24 Ultra, the next 2 years, or whatever the hell is going to come out next couple of years. They're going to be super fast phones. They're going to have mega gigabytes of 5G speeds, maybe even, I don't know, sixth generation at some point. And there may even be, I think, in my personal opinion, with Starlink and some other satellite providers, I genuinely do believe, don't quote me on this live stream, but I think in 3 years, I think we will be able to make somehow, some way, I think with either an adapter or maybe built into the cell phone itself, maybe. Maybe within 3 years, there should be a phone out there that's a smartphone that may be able to connect to a cradle or something, right? And maybe like an iPhone cradle, like the Apple satellite or whatever the fuck they call it. And you'll be able to make phone calls for a fee anywhere in the world through satellite if there is no cellular connectivity and data service. And the satellites will be fast. They're going to do it. They just have to kind of coat the earth with satellites, which I kind of think sucks. But I think they're going to eventually do that. There's going to be a cell tower everywhere on the planet. So watching us will be a lot worse. But if you need to access data, you could be out in the middle of the Saharan desert at 120 Fahrenheit or more, and you'll be able to point at the sky and have high-speed internet, data, cell phone. I mean, you could even broadcast probably in 1080p or better within 10 years. You're going to be anywhere on the earth, anywhere with an open sky on the earth. You could be in the middle of the Amazon rainforest, and you're going to be able to stream at 1080p wherever the hell you can get an open signal on a cell phone of some sort. In 10 years from now, I genuinely do believe the technology is going to be superior, advanced. I mean, we're talking, I mean, what do you think in 10, bro, look how far we've come in 10 years. We got gigabit speeds, we got gigabit Wi-Fi, multi-gigabit Wi-Fi if you have the right connections now, multi-gigabit 5G millimeter wave. Now imagine if they can put that 5G millimeter wave into the mid-band somehow, some way, I don't know if they can, get multiple gigabits per second through that mid-band where you're getting 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, even 10 gigabits per second through mid-band spectrum. What is to say that you won't be able to hit 20 gigabits per second in 10 years of time now? You're going to hit 20 or 30 gigabits per second on a cell phone in 10 years from now, so by 2030. In 2030, we are going to have 8K cameras. They're going to be standard on most phones by the year 20. And I'm going to base this off of what I've seen. Okay, we have 8K 24 frames per second on the S22 Ultra. We do not have 8K on the iPhone 14s. However, I believe by the iPhone 16 we will. I think there is a possibility that the new iPhones coming out will have 2 terabyte storage, 3 terabyte storage within because the cameras are going to only get better over the years. It doesn't matter if it's an iPhone or Samsung. The cameras are going to get better. They're going to get so good at some point where you look like you're going to be shooting off a movie quality through a cellular device. It will happen. Just give it time. Okay, first of all, the cameras that we have on our phones are like better than all the cameras from like the 1940s or 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, except for the ones at the studios and except for the ones at like, you know how they move these gigantic cameras that are like $300,000, you know, moving them around when the basketball players are playing basketball and they can zoom in up on those basketball players. Okay, those cameras are extremely amazing. They're expensive as hell, but man, those cameras are good. Okay, we're not going to get like that yet, but we're close. The S22 Ultra can zoom in about 100 times, right? So, that's digital zoom. Now, imagine 10 years from now. There may be a point, maybe, we're going to be recording at 8K, 60 frames per second within 5 years, but it's going to be extremely like HDR. It might even be IMAX quality at some point, but it might take a few more years. If they're coming out with a new graphics card that can push 12K and play at 12K, 60 frames per second or faster, that right there is futuristic as heck. And these processors, they're getting smaller, the processors, but they're also getting more efficient over time. And these people are so smart. I wish I could have their smartness. But eventually it's going to get to a point where these processors are going to be 3 nanometer, 2 nanometer processors. I don't know if they can go any smaller. I don't know if they can. 4 nanometer processor, it's barely going to touch the battery while producing extreme amounts of horsepower. I mean, these are 4 nanometer processors. You know how small that is? I understand that. And the smaller it gets, the less heat it produces. So it might be to a point where you'd be able to run an 8K video. You could record an 8K video, play Call of Duty in the future, play all these fancy high definition games on your phone, and it won't even heat up. I mean, the iPhone 14, the Pro Max series, and the Pro, they don't even get hot. For the first time, this is the first generation where I felt an iPhone not get very hot while gaming. It barely gets warm to the touch. That's so impressive. The S22 gets really hot even if you turn off the 120 hertz. The S22 Ultra gets really hot if you're playing games, especially on a medium brightness. But that doesn't happen with the iPhone. So in the future, when these new generation phone comes, the new generation of phone comes out, are we going to even experience any heat up on these motherfuckers when they're at like 4 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz processors? I mean, I think the fastest right now on an iPhone is like 3.4 gigahertz. I don't know if that was the A15 or the A. I don't know. Point I'm making is, I think 3.3 gigahertz or whatever. What's going to happen when they go to 4 gigahertz at 3 nanometers? You're not even going to feel the heat. Their cooling is very efficient. It might get to a point where we don't feel heat no more on most of these phones. I mean, even if you're connected to satellite. Yeah, no, well, no, you have the iPhone 11. No, what I'm saying is, maybe you don't, maybe you're not understanding. Okay, the point I'm making is, these phones are going to be so advanced. They're going to be able to detect medical issues. They're in the future, especially with the iWatches and the Samsung watches. I mean, if they're already detecting irregular heart rhythms, in the future they may be able, somehow, some way, they may be able to detect medical emergencies before they happen or right before they happen, where it might warn you, hey, you're about to have a medical emergency, and it's actually accurate. It's 99 to 100% accurate. It might be able to detect that in the future. And you call 911 before you actually have a medical emergency. Imagine that. Imagine that. Like, imagine that it can predetermine before your medical emergency. Like if you're going low on salt, or if you're going low on potassium, or if you're going low on sugar, or if you're going too high on sugar. It can detect that and tell you, hey, you better take your medication now or something. I mean, it's gonna happen. It's just give it time. And eventually, Your phones are going to become AI and like with artificial intelligence probably within the next. I would say, well, Siri sucks still even in 2022, but I say within, I don't know, it's 2022 right now. I say within 12 years, our phones are going to be able to talk to us like humans within 12 years. Maybe longer, but I say about 12 years, maybe about 2033, 2034. I say the cell phones will be AI induced and they will be able to talk to us like actual humans, but within a small confined space. I genuinely do believe that. And I'm not talking about conspiracy. I'm actually thinking, is the technology going to be that advanced? Eventually, they're going to create something like that. And it won't be off of an iCloud server or off of a Google Drive server or a Google Photo server. It's going to be directly infused into the phone where they can do all these processes immediately and come up with actual answers for you in the future. I think that will be a reality within the next 12 to 15 years. Maybe not, but just based on where the things are going now, they're creating these artificial technologies where as you're typing, it's producing imageries. That is really advanced already. It's actually kind of creepy. Or deep fake pictures and video, which is amazing how they did that. Whoever created that is very smart, but it could also be very, it could be used to be very, not divisive, not divisive. It could be used for nefarious purposes. However, the technology itself may, maybe in the future, I think the technology may save the Earth in one way, or maybe from a comet, maybe from an asteroid or something. I genuinely do believe, or maybe the artificial intelligence that's monitoring the space can detect black holes that are coming to the Earth, maybe, and tell us, hey, we got to bounce off this planet and get the hell out of the atmosphere and go to a different galaxy or something. It may be able to detect that because as if I'm known correctly right now, the Andromeda galaxy is going to hit the Milky Way galaxy, and this is going to suck over millions of years, billions of years. Sorry. So we're gonna get spiraled out of each other. It's like a car crash, except on a galactic event. Slowly, it's like a slow car crash. So slow that we're not gonna know it because we're all gonna be in the ground by the time that happens. But the point I'm making is eventually it's going to happen. That's the thing. That's the thing that annoys me is that the Earth will not always be here, and I find that to be annoying. But I don't know the truth. So the cell phones are gonna have a very advanced technology. They are going to be amazing. 4K screens, 8K screens, probably in the future it might even be 12K screens. I don't know. I would assume maybe like an 8K panel, maybe some sort of advanced OLED display or even 3D built into it, like where you can see through stuff. Not like see through walls, but like see through stuff like through movies. Or it might be able to project things outwards of the phones. Now we already kind of went through that era of projecting, projection through the Motorola's projectors, which is pretty cool to connect to the cell phone. But I'm talking about something even more advanced, like it's like it can produce like the movie, not on a wall, but like in actual like reality, where it looks uh, like a 3D version of the movie, but built into the phone, where it can come out a few inches out the screen and make it realistic. And I hope that's a reality within. I know Oculus is similar, but I'm talking without anything on your eyes. You're just looking at the screen, and then suddenly it turns into 3D somehow. We've had that in the past where you've had to wear the 3D glasses. I remember, I think it was in 2012, 2013, or 2014, Motorola came out with like a 3D camera system. I don't know if it was the screen or if it was the camera system where you could create 3D movies. I don't remember what the Motorola what the cell phone was. It was a Motorola camera. It recorded with different cameras to create a 3D movie. That was many years ago. I know it was Motorola, but I forgot the or Droid. It was either Droid or Motorola. I don't remember. I'm sorry, but I do miss the old Motorola. What phone did I miss the most? I miss the old Motorola Edge. Edge? No, I have to look it up. Oh shit, I forgot the name of it. It was an old Motorola. Oh, the Motorola Razer. I think it was the Razer HD or something like that. I don't remember what the name was, but HD Max or something. It was like a 720p display. It had a really good display on the first time, and the Verizon actual like the bars of service on it were in blue. That's the thing that I hate about Android is that you cannot change the antenna bar strength like in the old days when they had the very old Android phones where the little bars would be blue. I loved the blue colors on the Android devices. And I really wish they would get the option to put those back on Android phones. I miss that so much. And that's what I loved. I think it was the Motorola Droid Max or Droid Razor Max or something like that. I don't remember what the name was. But I miss those days where the Verizon logo was blue and it would say the 4G LTE logo, but it was in blue. The camera battery icon would also be in blue. That was freaking amazing. I miss that. And I don't like the fact that there's no option to change those colors. And I'll repeat that again. Why won't Android make it to where you can change the antenna colors on the cell phone? What happened to those days where Verizon had that like superiority of having the blue icon um, for the 4G LTE and 3G and it was in blue? Why not green? Why not purple? Why don't we have that option? I still don't understand to this day. And why iPhones? How come we don't have the option to turn the text to blue? Is it for burn-in purposes? Because the blue was awesome. Anyways, I've been ranting for too long. Thank you guys for watching.